From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 28th, 2016. Silver is trading at $20.44 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,345 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $659. Antiwar.com reports with officials continuing to assure the world that coup plotters had infiltrated anything and everything in Turkey, the post-coup purge seems able to target any given industry at any moment. One day the government is rounding up disloyal generals, and the next it's firing the dean of every university in the country. On Wednesday, it was the media's turn. Officials are reporting that over 100 media outlets have been closed over ties to exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen, including 45 daily newspapers and 16 television stations. Incredibly, among the newspapers ordered closed was Zaman, which was nationalized for Gulen ties way back in March. Turkish officials seem insistent that the old Zaman's influence extended to a coup that happened 4 months after they were closed, with arrest warrants issued for 47 former employees. That they closed the new Zaman, which they already run and which had been slavishly loyal to Erdogan, is just bizarre and reflects growing paranoia about any perceived dissent. The Erdogan government has long been ruthless in cracking down on critical media, at any rate arresting reporters as terrorists for unflattering stories, particularly those critical of the government offensives against the ethnic Kurdish minority. That crackdown never really stopped, but the coup has justified an even further acceleration. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports prosecutors in Baltimore on Wednesday dropped all charges related to the arrest and death of Freddie Gray for 3 police officers. The move by Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will conclude the high-profile case, meaning there will be no convictions or criminal accountability related to Gray's death. Charges, including involuntary manslaughter, were dropped against Officer Garrett Miller, Sergeant Alicia White, and Officer William Porter. Gray sustained a fatal spinal injury on April 12, 2015, while being driven in a police van after he was arrested. His death sparked weeks of protest, riots, and looting in Baltimore and ignited the Black Lives Matter movement nationwide. Prosecutors previously said officers did not do enough to get Gray medical attention after he was injured while handcuffed, but not buckled into a seat in the back of the van. Porter's trial ended in a mistrial in December. Officer Edward Nero and Caesar Goodson Jr. were acquitted in separate trials in May and June. Baltimore police officer Lieutenant Brian Rice, the highest-ranking officer to respond to the incident that led to Gray's death, was found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment on July 18th. Mosby told the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday, "I wanted to be able to expose the systemic issues, and I think that's one of the reasons why we said we would probably drop the remaining cases, so we can try to work towards a solution," adding, "At the end of the day, this was just a process. The officers received due process, the verdict was rendered, and at the end of the day, I believe justice was served." When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a Wisconsin appeals court ruled on Wednesday that 2 teenagers should be tried as adults on charges that they attempted to kill a classmate by stabbing her repeatedly to please a fictional internet character named Slenderman. The girls, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser, have been in custody since they were charged with attempted first-degree homicide in the May 2014 attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. All 3 girls were 12 years old at the time of the stabbing. In a pair of rulings, the 2nd District Court of Appeals determined that the Waukesha County Circuit Court probably exercised its discretion given the facts presented and made a decision a reasonable judge could make. The girls can appeal to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.